I was saying, y'all, it's Rico from StreetScores, and man, I'm here to bring a lot of stats to y'all to show y'all how and why the Commanders are way better than even you think. Even though I've already told you a lot of things that happened after the Chargers game, I gave y'all a few stats, but now we're here to dive into even more. First of all, we got to talk about how Bill won a bunch of awards and even got a new Nike deal out of it, and how many people were even watching that game, which led to his Nike deal. We're going to get to that somewhere in like the middle of the video, but we got to break down how the Commanders potentially have an elite defense, like secretly an elite defense. Also, do we have a secret Pro Bowl offensive lineman going on right now? We're going to dive into so many different stats, like Jaden Daniels is elite. He already still looks like a top 5 quarterback, picking up right where he left off last year. The rust is completely shaken off. Deebo Samuel's having the time of his life. He's putting up elite stats. Our kick return game is still the best in the NFL. We're going to dive into so many different stats and more, but before we do, make sure you still follow that like button, still follow the subscription button, and still follow the bell next to that subscription button so you get notification each and every time I release an informative and opinionated video just like this one, man. Shouts out to the Watch to the End gang, man. Shouts out to all of y'all that watched all the way through the videos, man. I really appreciate y'all. Of course, shouts out to the late night crew. I'm recording this at 2:26 a.m. So big shouts out to the late night crew watching this during the vampire hours. And of course, shouts out to Noti gang. Big shouts out to y'all to get these notifications immediately after I put these videos up there, and they're even like in the comment section or watching the videos before I'm even done doing everything to the video that I need to. So big shouts out to all of y'all, man. And without further ado, let's go and dive into this video right now, man. Let's get it. Adam. Now, before we get into anything, shouts out to 2 big-time Cash App donations that went down in between my last video and the one I'm recording now. I feel like at the very least I can do is thank y'all for donating, especially if you don't donate during a live stream. And I make sure I thank y'all immediately then. If y'all just donate just off of the love, just out of nowhere, just on a random Tuesday, I have no choice but to make sure I thank y'all in my very next video. So shouts out to G Money for a big-time Cash App donation. He said, Rico, you are by far the hardest working. Held to the Commanders. Appreciate the compliment and appreciate the support right there, my boy G Money. And then shouts out to Hosea over there as well, just donating. Shouts out to Charlotte, North Carolina in the building, man. Hey, we are deep Commanders fans out there. No, because that's where my whole like mom side of the family's based. Like that's our family reunions and everything like that. So I already know how North Carolina get down. Appreciate that, Hosea. Shouts out to both y'all. And now let's go ahead and get into the video. And before we get into like all of the stats, there's gonna be 99% of this video. I did want to go ahead and get this out the way so that we don't just ignore this and skip over it. The Commanders injury report so far, but of course, like since we play Monday night, instead of our injury reports being Wednesday, Thursday, and Friday, they are Thursday, Friday, and Saturday. So we have a report that just came from yesterday's practice, as in Friday, October 10th, that we have to dive into. Tom Shad even tweeted the Commanders had a recovery day, but released an injury report kind of estimating what participation levels would have been if it were an actual real practice. So mind you, again, to emphasize, Friday, October 10th's practice was more of like a recovery day, somewhat of like a walkthrough, not a full-blown practice. So don't overreact to any of the injury updates. But the do not participate are Terry McLaurin with a quad and Chris Rodriguez with a calf. Of course, this just sounds like it's even more likely that Terry McLaurin does not play. If I had to pick between the 3 guys that were questioning who are going to play, Samuel Cosmi, Noah Brown, Terry McLaurin, I think Samuel Cosmi and Noah Brown will play, and then I think Terry McLaurin will not. We'll see. Because, I mean, at worst case scenario, Samuel Cosmi will 100% play against the Dallas Cowboys because they wouldn't have started his 21-day window limit set basically 14 days ago almost, if they didn't expect him to play by that Cowboys game, which by then will be 21 days. We'll see how that goes. But also limited, you have Noah Brown still dealing with the groin and the knee injury, and then also Deebo Samuel dealing with the heel injury. Again, those guys were limited. It was somewhat of a walkthrough, so don't overreact to those. And again, seems like Terry McLaurin is more than likely going to miss his 3rd consecutive game, just to warn you. And then positive news, John Bates participated in, well, again, if this would have been a real regular practice, John Bates was a fool, Samuel Cosmi was a fool, and Jaden Daniels was also a fool. And then that's it for the injury report. It's way shorter than it has been the past couple of weeks, so this is like the healthiest we've been in a while. We still may go out there without Terry McLaurin, but our team is starting to get back healthy. But granted, we do have some guys on the IR that do not appear on these injury reports. But either way, now let's dive into all of the crazy stats after the Chargers win and to show y'all why the Commanders are better than even you think. I know our fan base, it's hard to kind of, take a look from the outside and, really view the Commanders from an outside viewpoint and stuff like that, to where we kind of underestimate how good we actually are. I know it felt like the sky was falling at different parts in the season, but mind you, we have a chance to go beat the Bears Monday night and be #1 in the NFC East. Just a couple of weeks ago, it felt like that was just unheard of. You know what I'm saying? So, of course, from our point of view on our own team, sometimes it feels like the sky may be falling. But, you can look at what a lot of other teams look like right now, or with how their fan base's view of them, and then you'll actually be pretty grateful to be a Commanders fan right now. Let's dive into it. So first of all, shouts out to Deuce Red Zone for pointing this out. My boy Red Zone in the lab on Twitter pointed out the fact that fourth quarter money drive versus the Chargers, that final offensive drive that we went on to consume a bunch of time off the clock and still ended up scoring a touchdown at the end, which was crazy. That was 13 plays, 99 yards, a touchdown with 6 minutes and 32 seconds of time of possession. We had 4 penalties for -3 yards, but we also had 10 runs, 76 yards, 3 passes, 26 yards. That was a death march. More running, 7 more runs than we had passes. Insane. Jaden Daniels also had that 61 yards and a touchdown. Bill had 34 yards rushing, and eventually we just took him out of the game. He could have had more, but they were like, it's no point. We'll just let C-Rod get those garbage time carries. Debo had 18 yards and a touchdown. C-Rod had 7 yards, and even John Bates had 8 yards on the very first play of that drive. Mind you, we started on our own 1-yard line. Cliff Kingsbury designed a great play, allowed Jaden Daniels to have the ball in his hands, got John Bates open underneath to give us some room to breathe without our backs deep into our own end zone after the Mike Sanford-Steele interception. So that just basically sent everything into what it was, and that first play was really the catalyst for us putting that game away. Who knows what would have happened if we didn't start it, if we started on a 1, we got it to the 9 immediately. Also, I want to point out the fact that I feel like a lot of people may not have seen this, and I talked about this on the Commanders fans with, of course, Louis T. Ed Oliver and Rio Robinson, but Jaden Daniels and Debo Samuel were practicing their celebration before the touchdown even happened. This is before they scored that final touchdown against the Chargers to go up 27-10, and mind you, this was 4th and 7. This is 4th and 7 when they're doing this dance before the play even is called, before the play even happens. And so, shouts out to Ethan Cadeau, because he straight up asked Debo Samuel about practicing his touchdown dance with Jaden Daniels before they even executed the play. That was crazy. That was like a whole thing, like, wow, these Commanders, bro, they are pretty confident to be practicing a celebration dance before the play even started, right before the play. It's not like they started it way earlier in the game and like, hey, our next opportunity we get, we're going to do this dance. No, it's 4th and 7. It's right before the play, and they're practicing the touchdown dance. So we should have known by then, if we were really looking at the field, we would have known that, hey, these guys are practicing a dance. They're going for this 4th down. They're not kicking a field goal. And then Debo Samuel answered by saying, quote, "We knew the play call and kind of figured it was going to be open. We just went on and made sure we had it right. He threw a dot in the back of the end zone," unquote, and basically just left it like that. But that is crazy that Cliff Kingsbury gave the play call, and then Cliff Kingsbury, whenever he told them the play call, he must have assured them, like, yes, this is about to be a touchdown. And how do you get to the point in an NFL game that you just know on 4th and 7 we're about to throw a touchdown before the ball is even snapped, before they even line up and see what the defense is showing them? Like, how did we get to that point, Cliff Kingsbury? Have we ascended on offense? Are we the best offense in football? Because I don't think a lot of teams have that luxury of just being able to know, hey, this is about to be a touchdown on 4th and 7. Go ahead and start working on your touchdown celebration. That is crazy. Shouts out to Jaden Daniels and Debo Samuel for that level of confidence as well. Hope we can carry that into this Chicago Bears game, man, because it's a game of chess. For you to know that you're gonna get a touchdown before the play even starts, talent has a lot to do with that. Execution, of course, has a lot to do with that, but most of that is strategic planning. So I'm really excited about that. Also, even Rookie Watch let everybody know this is not a Commanders fan, this is not a Commanders reporter, Commanders social media content, nothing. This is a completely neutral analyst. Rookie Watch, he pointed out the fact that Jaden Daniels' arm strength is something else. This past week, Daniels launched a dime flat-footed from the 8-yard line all the way to the opposing 35. In a recent special with Sports Illustrated, Daniels was able to launch a ball 70-plus yards. Not to mention, Daniels said he could also run a sub 4.3 40-yard dash if he would have ran one at the combine. One One NFL scout reportedly believes Daniels has attributes that come once every 10 plus years. The Commanders quarterback is one of the freakiest prototypes to ever play the position. Because all of this started, the catalyst for that was the Luke McCaffrey deep bomb after the roughing the kicker on Tress Way. But either way, moving on, speaking of Jaden Daniels, Pro Football Focus's highest graded Commanders from week 5. You have Jaden Daniels number 1 with an 85.9. Hard to argue against that. You have wide receiver Deebo Samuel with an 80.6. Edge rusher Von Miller 80.4. Johnny Newton, I said this felt like, just from really watching the tape, this felt like arguably his best game as a Commander. He finished 4th with an 80.8. And then Dorrance Armstrong with 2 sacks finished with a 79.5. Also, shouts out to Heath Cummings for this one. He said, this sounds insane, but I've quadruple checked it. Sunday against the Chargers was Zach Ertz's first game without a catch since November 27th of 2014. It's been since 2014 since Zach Ertz has played in the game and he did not get a catch. That actually is pretty phenomenal right there. I'm not gonna lie, like, that's actually pretty astonishing right there. Also, shouts out to Disco for bringing this up. The Commanders through 5 games, we're number 1 in rushing, even though we're number 24 in passing, but that's gonna pick up. First of all, you don't have to pass the ball a lot when your run game is that unstoppable. Typically, a number 1 rushing team is not going to rank very high in passing. And also, you had a couple of weeks without Jaden Daniels. You also had a couple of rusty games. You had Jaden Daniels hurt, but we're back. Special teams were number 1, of course. We're going to dive into that again later on in the video. Then total offense were 12th. Total defense were 24th. Pass defense 24th. Rush defense 20th first. And then turnovers were 18th, which is pretty interesting. That's pretty solid. Still a playoff team because, I mean, if you can't stop us running the ball, what can you do against this team? Now moving on to Deebo Samuel. Now at this point in his career with 25 reception touchdowns and 21 rushing touchdowns, he is the 5th player ever with at least 25 receiving touchdowns and 20 rushing touchdowns in his first 7 career seasons, now joining only Austin Eckler, Christian McCaffrey, Lenny Moore, and Brian Westbrook. Shouts out to Deebo Samuel there. Also, we're going to come back to Deebo Samuel soon, but shouts out to Mark Phillips for pointing this out. Yards given up by the Chargers each week, and I pointed this out in the previous video earlier this week, but week 1 against the Chiefs, 347. Week 2 versus the Raiders, only 218. Week 3 versus the Broncos, 265. Week 4 versus the Giants, 250. Week 5 against the Commanders, 389. That's the most given up by the Chargers defense in any game this season by 42 yards at least. Over 100 yards more than everybody else. And mind you, no Terry yet. And Jaden Daniels, first time playing in a game in 3 weeks, and he had a knee brace. And again, I want to remind y'all, that's without Terry, that's without Noah Brown, nor Samuel Cosmi. And even though Deebo Samuel had 8 catches, Bill was the only other player on the Commanders team with multiple catches, and he only had 2. Everybody else had 1 or 0. Again, Zach Ertz didn't even have a catch in that game. And our offense was still able to put up that many yards against that Chargers defense, the most they've given up in this NFL season by nearly 50 to any opponent. Also, if you take a look on the screen right now, look at our offense versus our defense in comparison. So from going left to right, that's our offense. We are like a top 8 offense in the NFL. When you're looking from the bottom to up, that's defense, and we're somewhere around average there, which is cool. We're gonna work on that. Just wanted to show y'all that it's not that bad. Or even looking at this right here, presented by Tyler Webb, points per game allowed by every NFL team through week 5. As bad as it may feel, it's not that bad. We're only allowing 20. Mind you, look at the Bears up there at 29. They're allowing the 6th most points, well, tied for the 5th most points out of the entire NFL right now. And we're somewhere to where, like, towards the bottom, to where our defense is actually allowing less points per game than most defenses out there. Mind you, this was before the Eagles just played the Giants in that embarrassing Thursday Night Football loss to them. So they just went even higher, which is a bad thing. And then shouts out to the Giants. I mean, I guess they probably went a little lower as well. Either way, though, the Commanders defense, my point is not as bad as a lot of our fan base thinks it is. Also, shouts out to Jamal, aka my boy Let Martellett over there. He pointed out the fact that 3 sacks in 5 games for Von Miller. With this pace, he could actually end up getting them 10 plus sacks this season. That could be a very realistic marker for him. I think he could do it, man. He had a sack and a half against the Chargers. Let's keep up the good work. Also, shouts out to Deuce Red Zone Lab. He said the Commanders have 2 edge rushers in the top 10 of sacks right now through 5 games. You have Dorrance Armstrong in 4th place and Von Miller in 8th, bro. Let's get it. Von Miller is in 8th place in sacks out of the NFL right now. That's actually incredible. And again, to reemphasize, Dorrance Armstrong is 4th. And also break down Dorrance Armstrong strong stats even further. He has 13 solo tackles, 5 sacks, which he's on pace basically for 17 sacks in the regular season, 5 assists, 15 stops, 12 quarterback hurries, 77.9 Pro Football Focus grade, and a 77 run defense grade as well. Like, he can get after the quarterback and he stops the run. He's not somebody that's a liability on either sort of situation. You can keep him on the field on any down, any situation. That's very pivotal. That's really helpful for your edge rushers. That's really helpful for your linebackers, especially. That's really helpful for your tight ends, dual threat tight ends. Being able to stay on the field no matter the situation is very important, because it does not key off on the opposing team on either side of the ball what your plans are. They have to stay balanced. They have to respect every possibility, which any team on their heels, offensively or defensively, is a team that you can attack. Also, the Commanders through week 5 are number 6 in NFL in ESPN's pass rush win rate, and number 2 in the NFL in ESPN's run stop win rate. So the defensive line has been top 6 in getting after the quarterback and top 2 at stopping the run right now. Again, this defense feels like it gives up a lot of explosive plays, but overall, my point is, it could be worse. There are a lot of teams out there that are worse than second place. 30 of them, as a matter of fact. There are a lot of teams out there that are worse than 6th place. Now, also moving on, Deuce Red Zone brings up an interesting point about Jaden Daniels. He had 17 passing attempts with 2.5 seconds or more to throw, and 9 passing attempts with 2.5 seconds or less to throw. And of the, more than 2.5 seconds, he went 8 of 17, 172 yards, a touchdown, and a sack. But of the less than 2.5 seconds, 7 of 9, way better completion percentage, 59 yards, and granted, of the 7, 6 were screens, 2 of them were quick throws. So, I mean, I just thought that was an interesting stat. You could take away with that whatever you want to, but it seems like Jaden Daniels is far more likely to complete a pass when he throws the ball within less than 2.5 seconds, but also, again, a lot of those are screens. Also, I do want to point out the fact that Matt Gay is 6 out of 6 in the last 2 games, with his longest being a 52-yarder, bro. That is absolutely insane. Ever since we were screaming for him to get cut and us to bring in anybody, even though I kept telling y'all grass is always greener, Younghoe Koo, as a guy that is the number 1 Falcons hater you'll ever meet, he wasn't the answer. I was screaming that even before he ended up on, I think, the Giants practice squad, and we gave Matt Gay another opportunity in that Falcons game. I was telling y'all, Younghoe Koo is not the answer. Matt Gay felt like he wasn't the answer, but I already told you, Younghoe Koo was definitely not one of the solutions that you can look for. But either way, Matt Gay, perfect. Between the Falcons and the Chargers game with a longer 52, maybe he finally is playing like a franchise kicker. We'll see, because that, we were seeing, like, if you looked at the stats, he was better in domed, controlled environments and weather situations. But then that Chargers game was outside. You know what I'm saying? The Chargers, LA doesn't necessarily have the worst weather doing it, but that was still outside. So he showed even in that Chargers game he can kick outside as well. Also, going back to Deebo Samuel, if you can look on the screen right now, Deebo Samuel ranks 7th among wide receivers in catches right now. Again, now mind you, these stats are before that Giants-Eagles game, but either way, Deebo Samuel was 7th with 30 catches, man. Shouts out to him. And even just beyond that, this season through 5 weeks, 30 receptions, 300 receiving yards, 3 reception touchdowns, 7 carries, 46 yards with a rushing touchdown from that week 1 game against the Giants, 6 kickoff attempts, and 221 kickoff yards, bro. I mean, to only give up a 5th round draft pick for all of that is absolutely insane. He's playing like literally a wide receiver 1 right now. Even if Terry comes back, I mean, it feels like Deebo Samuel is wide receiver 1, because not only did Terry hold out the entire offseason, but he's already been missing games in the regular season. I'm pretty sure Deebo has better chemistry with Jaden Daniels than Terry McLaurin will whenever he returns. Even if he returns for this Bears game, Deebo Samuel's your wide receiver 1 right now, and he's playing like it. Thank goodness we traded for him, because without Deebo Samuel, I guarantee you, we don't have a positive record right now. We are not 3-2 without Deebo Samuel, bro. He's been a huge part as to why we've been so deadly on offense. And also notice that he has 4 touchdowns in 5 games this season at this point, and in comparison, he had 4 touchdowns, and it took him 15 games last season to get there with Brock Purdy, Kyle Shanahan, and the 49ers. So guess who's a happy kid right now that already in 5 games has as many touchdowns as he had last year in 15 games. Now, granted, pneumonia had a lot to do with that as well, but still, man, shouts out to Deebo Samuel having the time of his life with the Commanders, practicing celebrations even before the play is called because they know they're getting a touchdown. 4th and 7. Now, moving on to the offensive line, bro. Laramie Tunsil versus the Chargers. 0 sacks, 0 hits, 1 pressure, 1 penalty. That's it. Chris Paul, 0 sacks, 0 hits, 0 pressures, nothing. Tyler Biadasz, 1 sack, 1 pressure. That's it. Wiley, 0 sacks, 0 hits, 0 pressures. That's it. Josh Connolly, no sack, no hits, but 4 pressures. Still a really good showing from the offensive line. And then to specifically look at Chris Paul, this is my secret Pro Bowl candidate right now. He had 35 pass blocking snaps against the Chargers, 0 pressures, 0 hits, 0 sacks, and an 88.3 pass block grade, bro. And the fact that now he's learning how to actually block on the move, like to get to the next level, to learn how to pull and stuff like that, and showing mobility and athleticism there, that's making him unstoppable, because that was his biggest weakness. Like, if you would have asked me, Chris Paul, why is he not your starting left guard right now, way back in like July or something like that, I would have told you the pass blocking needs improvement. He's always been a great run blocker, but the pass blocking needs improvement, and he needs to learn how to be able to move as a pull blocker to get to the next level to block linebackers and DBs. He looks a little sluggish there. I don't know what happened, but going into this season, his pass protection not only got way better, you could argue it's even better than his run blocking somehow, and then also he suddenly gained amazing footwork and mobility and can actually pull now. I don't know what changed, but Chris Paul is literally playing like a Pro Bowl left guard. And you even have that Sutter guy that joins Kevin Sheehan on his radio show and does film breakdown in place of Chris Cooley that no longer does it. He talked about how Chris Paul is a Pro Bowler and by far the best offensive lineman on the team he's graded this season from watching every snap this season. He feels like so far, even on a limited sample size, because remember, Brandon Coleman started the first couple of weeks for you, but Chris Paul immediately stepped in. I think it was as of week 3 maybe? I believe it was week 3 when he stepped in, but either way, when he stepped in, Sutter feels like Chris Paul has been the best offensive lineman on the entire team since he started. Now, shouts out to Rush Manuel. He said that's high praise. I'm not sure about all of that, but I did say the other day, Bill wasn't the only 7th round pick who stood out on Sunday against the Chargers. Chris Paul has been putting in the work, and he's made the most of the opportunity to play right now. And then DC Sports Dre also replied, he may not get recognition nationally to get a Pro Bowl nod, but his play is at a Pro Bowl level right now, and I completely agree. Sutter even said, quote, in the 300 snaps I've evaluated of Chris Paul, I may have only knocked him on something, no matter how minor. It could be extra petty. Only 4 or 5 of those 300 snaps. That is incredible. That is excellent. That's like all pro level, actually. So shouts out to Chris Paul. He may not make the Pro Bowl because, you know, it's kind of one of those things. It's sort of like a popularity contest to an extent. We'll see, though. Maybe he'll breach the NFL top 100 by the end of the season when we come back to the offseason and people recognize how great he's been. Whenever there's like anything where coaches and players and front office guys vote for something instead of like all of us fans being included in the voting formula or whatever, maybe Chris Paul will get recognition there. And then going back to the offensive linemen, specifically tackles, if you look on this chart provided by Timo Risk right here, this chart breaks down offensive tackle performance when left on an island. That means no help, no chip, no nothing. It's just you 1v1 versus an edge rusher, and how often it happens. So how often it happens is left to right, and how good you are when it does happen is bottom to top. Laramie Tunsil is one of the best in the NFL. I mean, the only guy significantly better than Laramie Tunsil is Andrew Thomas, but, you know, he's a Georgia dog. So what can I say? I mean, that's kind of like what you expect. You know what I'm saying? A Georgia dog is leading in some statistical category anywhere, somewhere, of course. But Laramie Tunsil, our boy at left tackle, is holding it down. He's up there with Garrett Bowles. He's up there with Colton Miller, Joe Alt, Lane Johnson, all of those guys. He's better than a lot of those guys I just named. Darnell Wright, Jordan Mailata, Deion Dawkins, all of those guys. He's even better than those guys. And then you see Josh Connerly towards the bottom struggling a little bit, but I think he's only going to get better because remember, he went against a gauntlet of Abdul Carter, Brian Burns, Kayvon Thibodeau week 1, week 2 Micah Parsons, then week 3 you have Max Crosby, then week 4 the Falcons have like 5-6 guys that can consistently get pressure on the quarterback. No singular star, but an ensemble of guys that get after the quarterback fairly well. And then shouts out to the Raiders. I mean, the Chargers, they finally didn't have like a premier guy because Khalil Mack was hurt. They already released Joey Bosa, and he had a good game. I mean, it's really not going to be until, you look at the schedule, until that Lions game when he goes against Aiden Hutchinson on November 9th. That's going to be the next time that he goes against like a premier edge rusher. Against the Bears, there's no premier edge rusher. Montez Sweat, come on now. Dallas Cowboys, no premier edge rusher, even though I did love Donovan Ezraku coming out of the draft. Kansas City Chiefs, no premier edge rusher, especially on the edge. You have what's his name over there standing still when Trevor Lawrence is scoring a touchdown, Chris Jones. Then you have the Seahawks, good defensive line, no premier singular edge rusher right there. Won't be till November 9th against the Lions where Josh Connerly has to face one of those guys at edge rusher, and maybe by then he'll be fully prepared after going through a few more weeks of NFL football. Again, you got to remember, this guy's transitioning not only from college to the NFL, but from being a career left tackle in college to a right tackle at the NFL level. That, again, the best way I can describe it is, if you're right dominant, Try doing everything with your left throughout the entire day. Writing, brushing your teeth, using the remote, whatever. You know what I'm saying? And, or vice versa. If you're left dominant, try doing everything with your right hand. Now, try doing that, but you're trying to take that concept into pass protecting against Micah Parsons, Max Crosby, Brian Burns, Abdul Carter, and all of those guys. It's insane, bro, what he's doing. I'm very impressed, even though the stats don't look that great. I'm very impressed with what he's done so far as a rookie that a lot of people feel like even came out of the draft a year early. Remember, a lot of scouts said that if he stayed in the draft one more year, went back to Oregon one more year, he's a top 5 pick in next year's draft. So the Commanders are lucky to get him in the late 20s, basically a year early. Now, before we move on to the second half of this video and start to dive into more crazy stats, especially at some point diving into all of the Bill madness and all of the awards that he's won. Football is a full go, y'all. We are in the full swing of things, man. It is October. We are in the middle of a fun football season. Again, the Commanders have a chance to go take the division, to be #1 in NFC East if we beat the Bears at home, man. This is the most exciting time for Washington football right now. You have a chance to 1,000 times your cash on daily fantasy football because of Sleeper, man. Shouts out to Sleeper, man. And you can even, like, we have guys like Jaden Daniels. He's about to ball out against the Bears. I'm telling you right now, Bill is about to ball out. Mind you, Bill is the best running back on a per carry basis so far in the NFL right now. And the Bears have the second worst run defense in NFL history through 5 weeks right now. It is absolutely insane. So that's a match made in heaven for us. Deebo Samuel's looking like the best player on our entire team so far. And you can pick on stats for these stars like touchdowns, passing yards, receiving yards, fantasy points, and more for up to 1,000 times payout on Sleeper. And right now, new users can even get a free $20 without a deposit on top of the already get a 100% match up to $100 on your first deposit using promo code SCORE. That's SCORE. And you can even just click the link at the top of the description of this video and every video on live stream I'm doing all season. And of course, it's not just the Commanders in the NFL. You have the NBA that's starting to kick up. We're still in the preseason there. You have the MLB full swing of things, NHL, college football, college basketball, and the WNBA just wrapped up, but they will be back. You know what I'm saying? So shouts out to Sleeper. And also, I want to show y'all some of the picks that I'm getting into right now because I'm pretty excited, man. I think this is going to be a good 8-leg. Already gave y'all an 8-leg a couple of days ago. This is my newest one that I literally just did right before I started recording this video. I mean, Daniel Jones, I think he can get plus 200 plus passing yards, bro. I mean, he's had in every game this season at least 200 passing yards. The lowest passing yards he's had in the game was last week against the Raiders with 212. I think he can get 200 at least against the Cardinals. Speaking of the Cardinals, Kyler Murray, 20.5 rushing yards. He's done that every game so far this season. The least he's had in a game this year was 25. Then you have Jordan Love. He doesn't really throw interceptions. His only interception this year was against the Cleveland Browns defense. Refuse to believe he's going to throw one against the worst defense in the NFL, arguably in the Cincinnati Bengals. Kenneth Walker can get us at least 51.5 rushing yards, dog. Come on now. I truly believe he can do that, especially against the Jacksonville Jaguars team that has given up quite a bit of rushing yards every game. Matthew Stafford, that's my Georgia dog. I believe he won't go out there and throw an interception against a Baltimore defense that's been pretty easy to attack for every team that's gone against them. Ja'Cory, I got him scoring a touchdown, bro. Against these Bears, whether it be through the air or the running game, and I have some clips of Anthony Lynn that I'll probably show y'all in another video where like he's literally working one-on-one with Ja'Cory Croskey-Merritt. This is either before or after practice. This is not during practice time. One-on-one work with Ja'Cory Croskey-Merritt, aka Bill, specifically on his route running. I think this is the game that we really start to showcase that. He had 2 catches for 39 yards against the Chargers, and he even necessarily had to route run to do it. Now he's working on his route running as well. Watch out for Ja'Cory getting at least a touchdown. Jaden Daniels is not throwing an interception against the Bears, bro. He's just not. Jaden Daniels doesn't throw interceptions, and it's not going to start against that team. And then Hassan Haskins is taking over as the starting running back, we believe, for the Chargers now that Amarian Hampton just went to the IR, and the Miami Dolphins give up a lot of rushing yards, so I think he can get you at least 34.5 rushing yards. So that's my 8-leg right there. Again, shouts out to Sleeper. Now let's get back to the second half of this video. And now back to the stats. First of all, to kick it back on the stat side, that come from behind victory over the Chargers was Washington's largest win after being down double digits since 2001, bro. I was a little one, super little one at the time. That is crazy. Also, the Commanders are 13-1 since last year, since Adam Peters became our general manager, Dan Quinn became our head coach and all of that. We are 13-1. When we have at least 100 rushing yards after contact. The only loss was the Falcons game the week before that Chargers game when our defense couldn't get a stop to save our lives, and arguably one of the worst defensive performances I've seen from the Commanders, Joey Jr. and all of those guys since they've come here, since the start of the Adam Peters and Dan Quinn era. So that's the only time, as long as we rush for 100 yards over contact, that we have not been undefeated, bro. It's insane. Also, shouts out to Ethan Cadeau for pointing out the fact that Jaden Daniels is 3-0 in homecoming games. At the Cardinals, because he went to ASU, Arizona State, he went 26 of 30 for 233 passing yards, 47 rushing yards, 2 total touchdowns, including a 42-14 dominant win. Then at the Saints, because he played for LSU after Arizona State, he went 25 of 31, 226 passing yards, 66 rushing yards, 2 touchdowns, and a barely 20-19 win, because he did miss a lot of opportunities to Terry McLaurin deep down the field, and then our defense barely held on. And then at the Chargers, his hometown of LA, technically he's from the IE, but either way, 15 of 26, 231 passing yards, 39 rushing touchdowns, with one rushing yards, my fault, with 1 rushing touchdown and a 27-10 win, bro. So as long as it's a homecoming game, Jaden Daniels gonna get that. Also, I want to point out the fact that we, of course, are undefeated at home right now. We finally got our first win on the road, so we're undefeated at home, and we're 1-2 on the road this season. And we play at home against the Bears, so keep that in mind. I don't see us really losing any home games this season, but we'll see how it goes, bro. I think we can continue that all year because our fan base has been showing up, and we've been having home field advantages, and even causing like early penalties for opposing teams, like pre-snap penalties and stuff like that. But all the way, shouts out to Deuce Red Zone for pointing out all of the old wash folk on the team. He said this is the old wash folk update because according to ranks from their respective positions, Zach Ertz is 21st in yards and 9th in touchdowns. He had a nothing burger against the Chargers, so even before then he was ranked higher. Bobby Wagner is 1st in tackles out of all linebackers in the NFL, 10th in tackles for loss, and 1st in sacks out of all linebackers out of his position. Von Miller's 8th in sacks. Deebo Samuel is 7th in receptions, 8th in all-purpose yards, and 10th in receiving touchdowns, bro. And these are all of these guys that people considered wash or old or whatever, balling out at their respective positions right now. Also, Washington Today pointed out the fact that Trey Amos is a lockdown corner, and Jay Daniels MVP replied and acknowledged the fact that Trey Amos only allowed 8 receptions so far this season on 15 targets, bro. He hasn't been targeted much, and he said he'd like to see Amos on a doomsday this week. I think we're gonna get a lot of that, bro. He's basically almost been locked down. He's not only been one of the best rookie corners in the NFL, arguably the best rookie corner, but he's definitely been one of the best corners in the entire NFL as well. Also, take a look at this chart uploaded by Stephen Patton of Patton Analytics right here. This is a quarterback chart right here, and basically anybody at the top right quadrant is like an MVP candidate. And so basically the best way to put it is that Jaden Daniels is in the same conversation of, even though Lamar Jackson has missed games, but he's been hooping, Baker Mayfield, Josh Allen, Pat Mahomes, and then you even have Drake May, but even Drake May isn't as good at Jaden Daniels in EPA per drop back, which is left to right, or the create rate from bottom to up. Jaden Daniels clears Drake May in both categories that matter as far as when we're having an MVP discussion. So Baker Mayfield, Josh Allen, Pat Mahomes, and Lamar Jackson, the limited times that he's played, that's the group of like the real MVP candidates so far this season. And again, you can pretty much eliminate Lamar Jackson because he's probably going to even miss a couple of more games. Now, granted, Jaden Daniels missed a couple of games. He has some catching up to do as far as overall stats. But right now, he's playing at an MVP level, MVP candidate level at the very least. Also, I want to point out the fact that Luke McCaffrey threw 5 games. How about 7 receptions, 146 reception yards, 2 reception touchdowns, 12 kick returns, 377 kick return yards, and a 158.3 passer rating when targeted, bro. 158.3 passer rating when targeted, bro. According to that, Luke McCaffrey is the best wide receiver in the NFL. That's actually really crazy. Also, shouts out to Grant Paulson for pointing out the fact that on 41 coverage snaps against the Chargers, Marshawn Lattimore allowed only 1 catch for 6 yards, bro. So, hey, I don't know what it is. It's every other game. Good week, bad week. Good week, bad week. Great week. We'll see if he can finally put together 2 straight weeks of good football play. Now going from the Chargers game to the Bears game, we'll see. But Lattimore's 2.4% target rate ranked 5th lowest in a game since 2018. But at the same time, he spent only 26.8% of his coverage snaps playing man coverage, which is what he's best at. That was his 10th lowest rate since 2018. So maybe Marshawn Lattimore's learning how to get better at zone coverage. Maybe the defense around him is starting to play better to the point that he can play better in zone coverage. Either way, complimentary football or a mix of that plus Marshawn Lattimore is actually probably just getting better. You know what I'm saying? Maybe we're finally figuring something out there. Also, we need Josh Conley to continue getting better. Speaking of getting better, because if you look on this chart right here, and if you look at Jaden Daniels, like right around the middle, and you'll notice This is basically offensive allowed pressure responsibility. And Laramie Tunsil is green with only 14%. Then, left guard, it went from Brandon Coleman to Chris Paul. They're green with 16%. That's pretty good. Tyler Biadasz is about around slightly above average of 14%, I guess. And then right guard, going from Nick Allegretti and Andrew Wiley combined, they're like a 16%. Then you have Josh Connolly, who's given up the second most highest percentage at pressure rate as far as right tackles go in the NFL. So we got to improve there, Josh Connolly. But again, with the gauntlet that he went through, I feel like he did a pretty decent job. I think he's only going to get better from here for the reasons I've already explained. Also, this is a random stat, and it may not necessarily directly, reflect on the Commanders, but it is interesting that every Bucs win this season has been by 3 points or less, and they're 4-1. I feel like that's really important because Mark Phillips brought up a great point that remember this offseason when Commanders fans were told the team's success wasn't sustainable because we won so many close games. The Buccaneers are cutting it even closer than we were last year. But either way, man, we'll see what happens with the Buccaneers. I'm sure that that's something we don't have to worry about anymore. Because to Dominique Foxworth's point in the offseason before the season even started, he refuted that whole, the Commanders won a lot of close games last year. And, sometimes you got to return to the median and stuff like that. He was like, what if the Commanders are just so good that instead of just having close games, they just blow people out? They beat them by double digits more often. And then now they're just even better. Instead of being worse and just assuming they're worse, why are we going to assume they're worse? Why can't they just be better with Jaden Daniels at quarterback? So shout out to Dominique Foxworth for having our back and saying that point. The same thing that I've been saying all offseason as well. Also, now let's dive into some Bill stats. You know what I'm saying? And I even, gave y'all a lot of Bill stats in my film breakdown of them. But now I have even more of them now. First of all, we got to talk about the fact that the hype around Ja'Cory Croskey-Merritt continues to build this week because he led the Washington Commanders with 150 total yards and 2 touchdowns in their 27-10 win over the Los Angeles Chargers. He had been named the FedEx Air and Ground Player of the Week. Mind you, this is out of the entire NFL. This is not the rookie class. He was the Air and Ground Player of the Week. It's the second award that Croskey-Merritt has received for his performance up to this point, and he was also named Tom Brady's LFG Player of the Game after the Week 5 victory as well. I mean, he's stacking up rewards. And so he won FedEx Air and Ground Player of the Week. Again, that's out of all players in the NFL. Only 2 of them can win it, not just rookies. So it was like, why wouldn't he win the one for rookies? He already won the harder award it is to get. So then, first of all, before we even dive into the fact that he did end up winning Offensive Rookie of the Week again, remember, he won it week 1, and then he just won it again week 5. But right now, he's the second highest graded rookie this season at an 84.9. So that was another case as to why he deserves to win Offensive Rookie of the Week. And I think right now he's your leading Offensive Rookie of the Year candidate because you have right now, according to Pro Football Focus, the highest graded rookie right now is tight end Jackson Halls of the Buffalo Bills at a 90.7, but I don't think he's in range of winning the Offensive Rookie of the Year. And this is out of all offensive rookies, not even just offensive, not just defensive, all rookies right now. And they have Ja'Cory Croskey-Merritt graded as the second highest with 84.9, and they have an entire couple of paragraphs dedicated as to why he's been one of the best rookies in the NFL, arguably the best rookie. Then you got to go to number 3 for Will Johnson, number 4 to Jahad Campbell, number 5 to Cam Scatterboo, number 6 to Carson Schwarzenegger, then 7 to Jonas Sanker, 8 to Quinshawn Junkins, 9 to Xavier Watts, and then you get all the way to 10th to Emeka Egbuka. I'm bringing it up to say that some people feel like Emeka Egbuka is right now leading the Offensive Rookie of the Year awards, but he's 10th out of all rookies according to Pro Football Focus, while Bill is 4th. And so, then again, Ja'Cory Croskey-Merritt ended up winning Offensive Rookie of the Week again for the second time this year for week 5, bro. So big congratulations, man. Shouts out to the fan base, too, for always voting. Remember, this is like basically the Jaden Daniels Award. It's sponsored by Pepsi's Zero Sugar or whatever, but this really should be renamed to Jaden Daniels because he won it the most times in a season by a rookie in NFL history. Literally his award. And mind you, I voted 30 times for Bill, so I'm just as toxic as maybe some of y'all out there that just spam voting. I don't care. Shouts out to Bill for winning it. If it's something we can vote for, we're gonna get our guy that award. Also, shouts out to Resh Manuel. We said, do the Commanders have the most players on their active roster in the NFL who have won at least some sort of a Rookie of the Week at least once in their career? Because that's Bill, that's Jalen Lane. Remember, Bill won at week 1, Jalen Lane won at week 3, and then Bill wins at week 5. Just to let you know, like, those are 3 Offensive Rookie of the Week awards just by Commanders players only through 5 weeks of football of the entire NFL. Then Jaden Daniels, of course, Marshawn Lattimore used to win it, Preston Smith won it, Marcus Mariota won it, and Zach Ertz as well. That's an interesting point. We have a bunch of Rookie of the Week award winners over here. And also, 20.8 million people watched that Chargers win. And that led to a Bill Nike deal. I'm talking about the real Bill deal, man. Shouts out to Bill for his new endorsement, bro. He now has a new Nike deal, exclusive deal to Nike per his agency, PAA Football. The tremendous rookie season gets even better, repped by agents Wyatt Mumphrey and Alex Sturt. And shouts out to Sports Illustrated for this one. He said, this may be one of Croskey-Merritt's first endorsements, but many more will come in the future if he keeps playing like this. Croskey-Merritt is on the type of improbable rise that forges out underdog stories. He was unranked as a high school recruit, like I've already told y'all several times throughout the offseason. Starting out at the FCS level with Alabama State in 2019, in 4 years with the program, he totaled 1,164 yards and 13 touchdowns. After entering the transfer portal in 2023, Croskey-Merritt landed at New Mexico and had a breakout campaign. He was named second team All-Mountain West after rushing 189 times for 1,190 yards and 17 touchdowns while adding a score through the air. Then Croskey-Merritt chose to transfer again, moving to the P4 level to play for Arizona. However, eligibility issues, his previous team of New Mexico snitched on him, you could just tell, prevented him from playing in more than one game. Croskey-Merritt had to sit out basically the entire season outside of one game. Despite being sidelined for the year and not being invited to the NFL Combine, the Commanders still took a shot on Croskey-Merritt in the 7th round. Now he's Washington's starting running back along with a hefty 4-year, $4.3 million contract, and now he is signed to Nike. And just to go back to the viewers thing, actually it was 20.3, but I saw somewhere else it was 20.8. But either way, it was America's Game of the Week. And of course, it was at least over 20 million viewers is the point. That was the most watched telecast of the week on any network. So basically, the point is, a lot of the reason why he got that Nike deal, because everybody and their mama was watching him go absolutely crazy. And speaking of Ja'Cory Croskey-Merritt, here's some charts to look at right here as well. And all you need to know is that in that top right quadrant, these are the consistent and explosive runners. You know what I'm saying? If you're at the top left, you're explosive, but you're inconsistent. If you're at the bottom left, you're just horrible. And if you're at the bottom right, you're consistent, but you're just a grinder. You don't do anything explosive. Ja'Cory Croskey-Merritt is the best mix. I mean, depending on what you want to do. Breece Hall is arguably more explosive, I guess, even though, on a per carry basis, Bill is the best in the NFL by far, but he's nowhere near as consistent as Bill. Bill is the perfect combination of consistent and explosive, bro. He's literally playing like the best running back in the NFL, and that chart shows it. Also, Bill Croskey-Merritt is the first player in NFL history to be named NFL Rookie of the Week, FedEx Ground Player of the Week, and Tom Brady's LFG Player of the Week in the same week. Now, of course, Tom Brady's thing is relatively recent, but still, that's an incredible historical mark right there. Now, also moving on to this chart right here, I just want to show you that the Commanders' run blocking is pretty good, but it's not one of the best relatively in the NFL. And my point is, Bill is doing this without one of the best run blocking being one of the best run blocking teams in the NFL. Like you can see we're at top left quadrant where we're better at pass protection than run blocking, and run blocking is from left to right. The further right you are, the better. We look like we're one of the worst 8 teams at run blocking, according to this advanced metric right here. But at least we're one of the top average, top 15 teams, top 12 when it comes to pass protection. But Bill is doing this in spite of the fact that there are that many teams in the NFL, arguably with better run blocking composite grades. Also, want to point out the fact that shouts out to Madden NFL 26. They raised his attributes. He went up 2 points to a 75 overall. He needs to be way higher than that, especially by the end of the season, but we'll see. He went up 1 point in carrying to 91. His juke move went up 1 point to 81, and his break tackle went up 2 to 79. He's way better than that. Again, he's playing like the best running back in the entire NFL on a per carry basis. He's honestly playing like a 94 overall, but it's cool to see that Madden acknowledged the fact that he had at least had a great game, and they upgraded him 2 overall points to a 75. Now, before we get up out of here, I also have some try-hard stats that I wanted to look at and show y'all, like this one right here, for example. Look at these key run defense stats. When it comes to EPA per rush, the Commanders are 13th. When it comes to rush success rate, we are 10th. When it comes to stuff run percentage, we are 12th. When it comes to yards before contact per attempt, we are 3rd in the NFL. We are 20th in yards after contact per attempt, so that means we're one of the best at getting to the running back, before the line of scrimmage. But then we're just not great at tackling, so that's our problem right there. And then we are 2nd in the NFL at run stop win rate, bro. It's insane stuff that we're doing right now. Now we're 22nd in light box rate, which is a pretty good thing. Sounds like we have light boxes 44% of the time. Which I'll take, you know what I'm saying? I'll take that any day. And then when it comes to heavy box rate, we're 9th at 26%. I'll take that as well, man. Either way, we're getting the job done. And then looking at offensive line stats, when you're looking at YBC per carry, the Commanders are 7th with 1.5. Stuffed run percentage with 13th. When it comes to run block win rate, we're 18th. So just kind of across the board, like somewhere slightly above average, honestly, because pressure rate allowed, we're 13th. And then pass block win rate, we're 7th. So, I mean, at least we're one of the top half of the league offensive line so far this year. It's only going to get better as Chris Paul continues to get better. And we'll get Samuel Cosme back sooner rather than later. Also, random stats and info. Shouts out to Resh Manuel for pointing out the fact that, Albert Breer put out a stat. He said, I've long felt Belichick was the GOAT, but now, when he's looking at Reed without Mahomes, 184 wins, 123 losses, and 1 tie. 13 playoff berths, 8 division titles, 1 Super Bowl, 11 playoff wins, and 8 top 10 offenses. While Bill Belichick without Brady is 83 wins and 101 losses, 2 playoff berths only, 0 division titles, 0 Super Bowls, 1 playoff win, and 0 top 10 offenses. And mind you, Tom Brady wouldn't have won a Super Bowl without Bill Belichick. But shouts out to Resh Manuel for pointing out the fact that Joe Gibbs from 1982 to 1991 without any Hall of Fame quarterback ever. 107 wins, 45 losses, 6 playoff berths, 5 division titles, 15 playoff wins, and 8 top 10 offenses. Of course, 3 Super Bowls as well. You could argue Joe Gibbs has done more with less than any other head coach in NFL history, is the point that Resh Manuel is bringing. He hasn't had like some historically great Hall of Fame long time. I mean, he's had great quarterbacks at times, but they weren't long term. They weren't franchise guys that lasted 5, 10 plus years like these other guys have luckily had. So again, you could argue Joe Gibbs has done more with less than everybody else. Also, I want to point out the fact that the Bears are currently paying 8 quarterbacks, and only 2 of them are on their roster. They're paying Deshaun Watson $35.9 million, Jameis Winston $2.2 million on the Giants, Dylan Gabriel $1.1 million. Joe Flacco just got traded. They're still paying him $1 million. Shadir Sanders is getting paid $1 million to not play for whatever reason. Bailey Zappe's getting paid $315K. Dorian Thompson-Robinson is getting paid $171K, and Kenny Pickett is getting paid $8K. The Giants are paying 8 quarterbacks right now. That is absolutely insane. Also, Mina Combs pointed out the fact that Arizona's defense ranks first in EPA per play in the first 3 quarters of every game, but 27th in the 4th quarter. So I know, like, a lot of people feel like the Commanders, the defense struggling from, quarter to quarter, half to half. But, man, defenses get tired, and the Cardinals showcase this the most, where they're the best defense in the NFL in the first 3 quarters of every game, but then they drop down to one of the worst, 27th in the NFL in that 4th quarter. You got to keep your defense off the field. That's a message to the Commanders, especially against these Bears, bro. Our offense needs to sustain long scoring drives and allow our defense to rest so that they can play at a high level all game. But yeah, man, that's the end of this video. Please get in the comment section. Let me know if everything discussed video. Please still follow that like button, still follow the subscription button, still follow the bell next to that subscription button so you get notification each and every time I release an informative and opinion video just like this one. I didn't realize this video would end up being 49 minutes long into recording. We'll see how long it ends up after I edit it, but I thought this was going to be like a quick, maybe 30-minute video, but 49 minutes is pretty crazy. But either way, man, shouts out to y'all, man. Shouts out to my Watch the End gang, man. If you're still watching this and hearing me right now, even if you just got me in your pocket just listening, still really appreciate that. I salute you and appreciate you personally. Shouts out to my Watch the End gang. Shouts out to my late night crew. It's 3:14 a.m. By the time I edit this and get it out to y'all, it's gonna be like 4:30 a.m. So shouts out to my late night crew, and shouts out to notification gang that even though this probably is gonna come out at 4:30 a.m., y'all are there immediately when he gets released, bro. Y'all are the goats as well. Appreciate y'all. And of course, let me know in the comment section how you feel about all of these stats. Do you agree with me that the overall message of this team is that we're better than a lot of our fan base gives our team credit for? I know it was looking ugly a couple of weeks, especially after that Falcons loss. I mean, who are you telling? I hate the Falcons more than any team in the NFL. I hate them more than the Cowboys. I hate them more than the Giants, than the Eagles, even the Bears. I hate the Falcons more than anybody else. So if anybody had a reason to be really upset about that Falcons loss, I was also at the game as well. That didn't help at all either. But I'm telling you right now, the sky's not falling. This team is better than even a lot of our fan base realizes. Of course, better than a lot of other teams' fan bases realize as well. And I think we're about to go on a run. I'm with Rio Robinson. I think we may go undefeated in October. Let's make it happen, bro. Really appreciate y'all. Make sure you let me know in the comment section how you feel about everything discussed in the video. Let me know if you agree or disagree with any of my points. Let me know if you have any additional stats that I may have missed. Appreciate y'all. Leave a like and we out. I'm gonna catch y'all later. I'm out.